if you live in Texas, you might find out that your neighbor owns a tiger. This seems crazy, and it is crazy. They're not kept track of very well, but we estimate that there's 5,000 to 10,000 tigers in captivity, along with thousands of other big cats.
Once you open that number up to all big cats, including lions, leopards, jaguars, cheetahs, cougars, and hybrids of all those species, you're talking about numbers in the tens of thousands at least. This is a massive problem.
We do have laws against international and interstate trade of tigers. It's illegal under the United States Endangered Species Act, but there are no federal laws against big cat ownership.
That's a good boy. Oh, I got you. I got you.
In some states, depending on local laws, people have them in their own backyards as pets. There's a very small number, just a couple of hundred out of the 5,000 to 10,000 that do live in accredited AZA zoos.
Unfortunately, the majority of these animals are in very substandard conditions at roadside zoos and private menageries.
Roadside zoos and cub petting facilities can charge anywhere from $10 for a photo with a big cat to $500 or more for a special play session.
Oh, I did not like that.
Many of these cub petting venues crossbreed tigers and lions to create ligers, tigons, sometimes then breeding them back again to create ligers or tigons. All of these animals exhibit serious health problems. These are chimeras that do not appear in nature. They're strictly created to attract tourists.
People who own big cats seem to do so out of the desire to have something that nobody else has. They're often typically people with very large egos who enjoy showing off on how they can control wild animals who most people would rightly fear.
Hercules, look what I got.
Easy does it.
Woo!
The incident sent the community into a lockdown, and local officials were forced to shoot and kill all of the big cats.
Tigers are not animals domesticated with hundreds or thousands of years of breeding in captivity. These are wild animals. They can grow to be 200 kilograms or more. They are not pets by any stretch, and private ownership endangers both the people and the tigers that they own.
see time and time again. Poor nutrition and poor veterinary care, just simply because it's too expensive. These animals end up suffering a lot of metabolic diseases, a lot of nutritional diseases, and it's simply because of the way that they've been kept.
Slightly cross-eyed tiger. Normally I'd euthanize her when she was little. I would not have let her stay.
We saw tigers that were horribly cross-eyed, so badly that they stumbled over things. Their vision was terrible. Their spines were so warped from poor calcium and poor nutrition that they almost looked like camels. The conditions that many of these animals live under were also really disturbing. Filthy, small enclosures, injured animals with open wounds, and no vet care.
Anytime you see an exhibit where you are given the opportunity to touch or come into direct contact with a big cat, that should be an absolute red flag, and you are patronizing an anti-conservation, anti-animal welfare, private menagerie, or irresponsible zoo.
If they don't want to walk, pop him in the ass and make him walk. Okay? Sit down.
Some breeders mass breed females who are forced to pump out 2 to 3 litters a year compared to 1 every 2 years in the wild.
Babies like these give people the opportunity to see the animals even closer and to have a more personal experience with them, and everybody loves a cute little baby tiger.
A roadside zoo breeds, pulls cubs from their mothers at birth, hands them around to tourists for petting, bottle feeding, photo ops until they reach the age of about 4 months. And then they've timed out. They're too big and dangerous to pet, and they're discarded. It's a big question what happens to them, and we have seen in some situations that they're killed. Many of them then end up in sanctuaries, which do not breed, do not have hands-on contact with those animals. They keep them for life, give them proper nutrition and vet care. Really important distinction.
Some may be sold into the private pet trade to consumers who may or may not be well-intentioned, but either way are not equipped to care for an animal of that size in wild nature.
It took me about 20 seconds today to find white tiger cubs for sale online for only $2,000. Maybe a little bit more than you'd pay for a dog, or a purebred dog.
The tigers at these roadside zoos are heavily inbred, unhealthy, and they're crossbreeds of the 5 subspecies of tigers. Many of them are, Bengal Siberian mixes. Some are, even more mixed. They're mutts. They're crossbreeds. So they have absolutely no conservation value.
No captive-born tiger has ever been reduced successfully into the wild. It's just not happened. It's not been done. We don't need to. There are tiger populations in the wild, and the best way to conserve them is to protect them in place. Petting zoos have to have this stock of cubs that are less than 4 months old. What happens to them when they're more than 4 months old? Well, we don't really know. But we do know that at least some of them are being killed and getting sold on the black market. Supporting that trade and poaching are the primary driver of decline of tigers in the wild.
A number of nonprofits in the United States have done a really great job investigating and exposing the dark side of this industry.
You cannot reprimand a cat while the public's around. That happens behind the scenes.
Now many people are coming to understand that we do have a big cats crisis here in the U.S., that there are far too many tigers and other exotic felids being bred and kept in captivity.
You can't bite. I'm gonna have the shit out of you.
People can help by never patronizing facilities that allow the public to hold, pet, swim with, ride, photograph with, or otherwise interact with wild animals.
Public Safety Act is federal legislation that's pending in both chambers of Congress right now that would ban the private possession of big cats and direct contact with big cat cubs. The Big Cat Public Safety Act would work to eliminate this vicious cycle of breeding and discarding tigers and other big cats because there wouldn't be such high demand for cubs all the time.
What we would like to see is an end to the breeding, selling, and trading of wildlife for private ownership. We want to see better regulation of our zoos and of our sanctuaries. And we want to see the passage of the Big Cat Public Safety Act and other federal regulations that will help protect all animals in the home, in zoos, in sanctuaries, and end a ruthless trade that is based off of the exploitation of wild animals.